TGIF Warriors, who caught the short side of the dollar this week? Long euro, long cable, long anything but the dollar. Good NFP day. Who's ready to react to the reaction? How you doing, Scott? Ingmar, Brian, Glenn, John Hawkins, Steve Bartholomew, Mike, Kman's here, James, Mike Delfino, Laura's here, and Greg is here. Okay, so we'll go to Greg.
Hey Dale.
How are you? So you want to go ahead and share before
Yeah,
anything? Go ahead.
yeah, sure. We'll be real quick.
Take your time.
Yeah, so as you know, I've been looking for this dollar reversal for some time, and looks like that this weakness is now finally in full progress to the downside. And I think that the dollar will actually still this year revisit these levels from 2024 lows and 2023. And since we got finally this one very sharp sell-off, I just think
Yeah.
that even if the non-farm payrolls report will trigger some rally, if the number comes out better than expected, then think that this will be just a temporary reaction and the story will be still around tariffs, and potentially after any stabilization, downside will resume. Also notice that we have some gaps here on dollar index. It's actually when Trump won the US elections back in November, so definitely very important level as well from that perspective, but just technical level that could maybe provide some stabilization before market resumes even lower. And
Okay,
as you can see, yeah.
could we get a pop in US dollar yen in concert with a recovery in the dollar?
Yes, but it really depends how stocks will react to this data, because we still have very bearish stocks, and I just think if stocks will stay weak, that Japanese yen will just continue to run and be even stronger than the US dollar, which is much weaker. But
Okay.
if we take a look here on the S&P 500, as I said last time, we are certainly moving into some very interesting support. So from an Elliott wave perspective, we are in this zone from where I would be expecting our recovery. Now, if we take a look on volumes, you can see here that we had a few spikes in volume from
Like
quite
August.
significant. Yes.
Like August, yeah.
And before that, we got in March of 2023, so what, 2 years back. So normally this kind of a volume, as you know, in a very big, sharp retracement can maybe potentially suggest that because of a lot of fear that is involved, that we are moving into some potential support if we are moving into extreme levels here. So again, this may suggest that we could be closer to potential support here.
Let me ask you before you move on, what would disqualify it as a wave four? Because I do recall where you had A labeled. You thought that was the end of four and we were on our way in five. It turned out to be a B. What's going to disqualify or negate that this is wave four and we have topped?
It really depends what kind of a top you think. I mean, multi-year top or just, let's say, top for the next few months. I still think that
Well, why can't this be one down and then we get a
uh,
failing rally?
because I understand how markets move, and I know what Fed and Trump administration will try to do if suddenly we see a massive decline on stock market, and I'm sure that they will try to defend prices, and we will see a very strong sharp rebound. Even if we see this sell-off, I would still label it as a wave A rather than wave one, and then after a free-wave
Okay.
retracement, we will see more upside. No matter how strong someone is trying to sell stocks, there are still institutions that have a systematic buying each day. So there are still buyers going to be the next day, no matter how far and how hard stock will sell off. So I just think that stock will remain in very strong uptrend, and whenever we have a chance to label this any pullback as a correction, I think we should do so. So even if we see
Okay.
a sharp drop towards, let's say that I'm wrong here and we won't stabilize and see 5,400 or so, How would
Yeah.
they say that wave 5 has ended and that's wave A, B, and would track ABC correction before I may start looking higher again. So for
Okay.
temporary period, I would then expect a little bit lower prices to be retested.
Okay.
Yeah, so also what I think it may happen based on intermarket analysis, this is a chart from a few days back. If we really can stabilize on the S&P 500 in this very big level, I just think the dollar, which is actually very, very weak, it's much lower right now, will continue even lower, will stay in downtrend. We see US yields coming quite nicely to the downside. I think that the US yields will stay under bearish pressure. Also, crude oil is following very nicely this pattern, but crude oil can maybe stabilize a bit at these levels when you look from 2014. But even if we see some kind of a rally here in the short term, it will be just a temporary retracement, in my opinion, within downtrend. I'm not really sure.
You have anything at 62, Gregor? Any kind of fib extensions or anything that you see down there?
Let me check.
Because that would be underneath that low of the move. Oh, you got it. Okay.
No, actually, as I said, maybe if we get some stabilization, could be a wave E rally in the
Yeah.
next few months, maybe still before summer, and then we see sell-off. So after all triangle is finished here, I will then try to put the fibs on to identify the wave C. But for now,
Okay.
if this correction is incomplete, then for me that's a bit too soon. But overall, I just think that crude oil will see more weakness, and we can see that the correlation with the US dollar here
Yeah,
is very tight, right?
it is.
And I think that it just the price action itself just pointing to a breakdown on crude oil. Looking at crude oil versus inflation, if this weakness will stay in play on energy prices, then we can also expect that this will turn to the downside, the CPI figures, and of course, this will most likely keep the US yields in downtrend. Looking at treasuries, we are basically back in this upward channel, so I think that low can be forming here. And even if some would say that that's an ABC rally, okay, if we try to look at some Elliott wave rules here, well, keep in mind that wave C should also be structured by 5 subwaves, okay, because wave C is a motive wave. It can even have an impulsive structure. And if you look closely here, then this third leg to the upside, which can be wave C, as I said, is not really made by 5 waves yet. In fact, we have seen a pretty nice pullback here. So I think that more upside here will send the US yields even lower. And I think that this can make a very nice bearish case for the US dollar. So even if the dollar will recover a bit, maybe we get, as I said, bounce now after non-farm payrolls report. I think that there will be still opportunities to look for more weakness, but on the dollar. But I think that the much better opportunities will be on the euro dollar. We
Yeah.
definitely completed this corrective ABC drop at the 61.8%, and I think that there is a plenty of room for more upside after any setback.
Okay. You have a view on gold? Are we in 5?
I think that gold could actually retest the highs here. You can see that I'm comparing here. I have this wave 2 land, okay?
Yeah.
The time zone, and you can see that actually we didn't travel that much in this wave 4 so far, so maybe we will retest the highs as a part of irregular formation or something else. But in the short term, you zoom this in the short term, this looks like an impulse and now small consolidation. So
Yeah.
regardless what the big picture is, I think that there is a chance that we will break higher here. If we see some sell-off, I think 2880 to 890 is pretty solid support down there.
Okay. I think you covered the board. Anything else on your mind?
No, not really. I mean, cryptocurrencies are just still in some kind of a consolidation, but this market won't move much unless we see some nice recovery on stocks, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're both in 4.
Yeah,
And with a
definitely.
5 to come, the liquidity is not, that's saying liquidity is going to come up come back into the market, and maybe people shouldn't be, you know, the Fed has said they're not going to ease in March, but maybe they change their mind.
We'll see.
Uh, yeah. Anyway, nice looks, Gregor. I appreciate you being here on a Friday after a long week of riding the roller coaster.
Thank you for having me, Dale.
It's always great to hear what you're doing, and I think that we could. I just want to show a couple things and ask a few questions. I think Kman's here. Ryan's not here, is he, guys?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
am.
he's
I
here. He's
am.
here. He's
Oh,
here.
Yeah,
okay.
Ryan's here.
Oh,
Y'all's
he,
here.
he
I
always,
slipped in the
you know,
window.
he checks in at like I don't know, five, right at the 5:30 dot, because I look at participants and you know, right before I go live, and you weren't there yet. You snuck in, man.
Came in through the cat
Y-
flap.
Yeah. So, what do you think? I mean, I think you were looking for 47, Ryan, on US dollar yen. We got, you know, down to 20. Is that close enough for government work?
Not 5 minutes before the NFP. It's not.
Okay,
It's.
good point.
I am keeping.
Yeah,
I think this is going to be one of those levels where you need to see what happens after the data. You know, because we could
yeah,
spike 100 pips through it, and 5 minutes later be back above it. So
right.
take the data move out, any data move out the way, and then see where we are after that. And if it holds, you know, once the dust has settled on a retest, I might have a look at that. But again, clock late on a Friday. Do I want to be sitting in a long dollar yen position over
You
the
know,
weekend?
Canada doesn't really look bad. You know, with the dollar getting creamed, right?
Yeah,
And see how Mexico looks better. I mean, weaker.
yeah.
So obviously they're getting more exceptions than Canada, or that I haven't heard any retaliation stuff from Mexico like we have
This,
from Canada.
yeah, well, they were supposed to be retaliating on Sunday and
Oh,
announcing
what a
their
great day.
counterpoint.
I
Yeah,
think that Sunday is a great day to go to church and then come back and you
retaliate.
know, write up all your retaliations against people.
But
What do you think, huh?
but
Huh?
all this has been can kicked again to April. Everything's
Yeah,
off. All these phase one tariffs pretty much have been can kicked to April. So the market is now right. We'll do the same thing as we did early February. Forget about it until a week before the next deadline. So we can probably go back to trading the levels in these two pairs, which would
yeah,
be nice. We had a little break under that 142.65.70 level
yeah,
yesterday, which was my range bottom that goes back for several months. And Kay made an important point. That little low there came right amid that 1925th high lows. You
yeah,
can
right
see on
here,
that chart there.
right here.
So that's a good marker for this data as well, because we've obviously got
Okay,
Canada jobs as well. If we get a move under there and it holds that safety net and gets back above 142.60.70, that
yeah.
might be a little trigger for a long try.
I
But
mean, look at how much stronger it is in the dollar. You know, if you look at Canada and we have equality, this was
yeah,
300 pips. Yeah, 400 pips. Was it 41.50, 400? This could take
yeah,
you back to 650. Not quite new highs.
yeah. But if you
If
zoom out a bit,
huh?
if you zoom out a bit on that chart,
I'll zoom out.
um, yeah, you can see we're in this sideways action, 145, 144 and a half, down to that one, 42, 60, 70 area.
Yeah,
I've got a horizontal zone in there that we've been walking that line for some time. I took the break when we broke under that area and got down
right,
to the 41.40s,
right.
but it didn't last long. We're back up. But I think we can play that zone again. Now we've got a bit of time between now and the next tariff threat.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it, man.
Cheers,
So
mate.
I want to ask, I know you're Gramps. Are you here, buddy? I mean, Grandpa.
I was gonna say,
yeah,
I don't know if
yeah.
Kman caught that one.
You
but-
you like
Yes, Dale,
you
yes.
okay, you like Grandpa better than Gramps, right? Because Gramps
Give me.
sounds like, you got cramps and you're old
Yeah,
and you
crabs.
can't.
That I have crabs.
Not crabs, cramps.
TBH.
Anyway, all right. So
Tell me.
let's talk about the silver. I want to be a buyer down here if we get a
Yeah.
shot next week.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You too? Are you
Well,
you're probably are you going to trade while you're on vacation and
oh, while I'm on vacation, well, I'm gonna keep my longer term
yeah.
stuff on that silver. But yeah, it's gold has been trading in a range, and silver is
Yeah.
doing a bit better because there is some outlook. Well, less tariffs, the fiscal spending, defense spending in Europe. Um, perhaps somewhere a plan or so regarding the war. And silver should always thrive better in a more positive environment than gold. So I do think that silver still is the better one of the two right now, seeing the outlook. But and then if we get back to gold, for instance, we've been in a range, yeah, 28.90, 29.30 for a while. If we get real crap data on the employment report today, that could change, and we could break that range. I know Stelios is always looking for metals to drop on a Friday, and actually the last two Fridays it did exactly that.
Yeah.
So well done, Stelios. And
That's slammy whammy they called
yeah, Slammy Whammy, as he calls it. Yeah.
yeah.
But I think if we really get a crap report and we see those government and also private numbers come down in the employment report, then I think perhaps gold is going to go for another leg higher, and we finally going to print the 3K. That for the metals.
Okay.
The rest,
Because I think that we've been ranging in this gold silver ratio forever, right? And every time I think it's going to break down, it comes back. But I think the environment is going to change. I mean, it should have really not done this with
we
risk
have to get out
off.
of the uncertainty.
Yeah, with risk off. Why were people selling the ratio up here? So I maybe it gets back to 91, but yeah, and for guys that trade stocks, I just want to show a couple of silver stocks that look pretty interesting. Here's see how you have 3 drives here? Okay, 1, 2, 3. It's clear if I do it the other way. Okay. Yeah, you have 3 drives here. Even cleaner. So I'm looking to buy pullbacks in these shares. SILJ, pretty similar. Buy a pullback. Because if we're good, and here's why I like silver. And I was for a long time looking for 27, right? During this corrective period we've been in. Check this out and tell me, and this goes out to the whole crowd, okay, to all our attendees. What's missing here? Okay, Ryan, what's missing?
I'm not as technically in depth as you are, so I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah, but you know what I do. I'm the one-trick pony. What's missing here?
Drives?
Yeah, one more drive to new
One
highs.
more
So
drive.
yes, okay. I mean, it's as clear as day. I don't think it's going to be in like a irregular right shoulder. I think we're going to make one more high in silver. Could take it to 36. It's a good trade. So
Yeah, I think so.
and maybe it goes bananas. Who knows? But
yeah.
I'm through fighting it. So I caught this, but I'm just getting long because this looks incomplete to me, and I'm just trying to finesse an entry, and I have a stop.
Where you could get your entry and be careful. Then maybe we should be careful for what we wish is if we get a weaker but not a crap report on the well, on the NFP. But the problem is, if we get a really bad one,
Yeah.
is it good to buy silver? Because then Nasdaq looks coming ever closer
Yeah.
to very important levels there,
It
around
could be.
19 and
You
a
could
half,
be right.
19 3/4.
Then we'll get
Speaking of which, we got
this.
about 10 minutes before the data comes
All
out.
right, go ahead, Blake.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm just thinking to buy a pullback. Of course, I'd be wrong under 31. This trend line, it tagged it exactly, and I had that line drawn weeks before it got there. Okay, so you're wrong under 31.
Well, good morning, everybody, and happy
Hey.
Friday. So let me ask you this, because let's cut the shit. What are you buying and what are you selling post NFP on good data and bad data? I mean, because that's the question that we're going to be asking ourselves in about 10 minutes. And I want to know what you guys' best plays are. And because I'm going to tell you mine, I am selling a rally in the euro dollar, and I hope we get bad data. I hope we get bad data and the euro trades to 111. I'm going to do a little reversion to the mean trade. I've been planning on trading the euro short, on a move to 109, and I think I'm going to try to do that today, even if it's just intraday, just for a few minutes. What are you guys gonna do? And Dale, I know you want to trade silver, but what else you want to trade?
I think it's an important day for TLT if you could pull it up. We were heading down all week despite risk off. Really didn't give it any support, the risk off and the weak economic data that we had. So I'm thinking I would sell. It's broken about 3 points. I'll sell it if we get weak data and we don't make a new high. Halfway back's about 91 and a half, maybe up to 92, wrong over the high of the move. Because I think they kind of showed their hand. Yeah, it's a pretty negative week so far with risk off being the way it is. So that's what I see. I'll sell
Yeah,
a
I mean,
rally in TLT.
the equity markets look pretty weak as of right now.
So why were the bonds selling off? That's a question I ask myself, that there's, when things aren't acting the way they should, that's kind of a market message to me.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, the dynamic in bonds, I sit here and scratch my head. So when as you pointed out, when things aren't working the way they should be working, I usually just move on to some other asset class, and that's
Well,
why
I'm not looking for a crash like 88. Okay. I'm not looking for new lows right here. I'm just looking for a trade down there
Gotcha.
towards 88.
All right.
89.
Ryan, you expecting I mean, how are you going to trade strong or weak data? I mean, where are we going to get the best reaction in your opinion? I think we're going to get the best reaction in obviously some weak data because, obviously you've got you're going to get an instant nasty reaction. But I think the stock market sells off and the dollar could actually turn around a little bit on a little risk off bid. But what are your thoughts here? Weak data, good data, how are you going to play it?
The market is looking for weak data. So
Yep.
it's going to react more on weak data. Strong data, the reaction's likely limited, obviously, by variation of the data. I'm looking at euro dollar because I'm still long. If we see 109, I'm going to be taking more profits.
No, you're going to meet my sell order. Just kidding.
Yeah. Where's your sell order? Because I'm going to park a pip in front of it. Really, I'm in that mood today where if it's weak data, we're probably 95% certain to trade 109. If it's inline data, we're probably 75, 80% certain to trade 109. And if it's strong data, we're probably 50, 60%, 70% certain to trade 109 after a dip.
Okay. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. If the data is strong, and I'm with you on this, if the data is strong, everybody's going to say, okay, well, government data is not factoring into this month, and it's next month it's going to be shitty. So I'm going to sell dollars into any type of strength. And I'm with you. Like if the euro dipped down to like let's just say 107. Let's say we broke this support from last night. You know, we trade to 107.30 or 40. I would actually buy down there too. I think that this is the way to play that. And then, you know, obviously what you're saying is, you know, that I'll play either one of these two areas in the euro.
I'm already bids in. I'm already bids in below. Because it comes from what I said on Wednesday when we had this big move up. There's a lot of markets still caught behind, and they've been hitting every dip and trying to get out of positions and restructure and readjust their positions. That's why we haven't seen any decent dips in the euro. This is one of those moments where if they don't get a dip to hit, they're going to have to chase it higher, and if they do get a dip, then it's still going to go higher.
Right. Okay. I'm with you. Kman, we got a few minutes. Strong data, weak data. How you want to play it today?
Well, strong data. Well, really, I mean, it's just the same thing, you know. I think I've been saying for a week, I think the dollar will, and now it is turning a corner, and I think not a lot will change that. But choose your currency pair wisely, because there are currencies that are massively underperforming the euro right now.
Like
So
the Aussie.
choose your pairs wisely. Yes, I wouldn't necessarily buy the Aussie right now. I don't know what's beaten it, but it can't keep a bid.
And you know, it's crazy because this huge bid that we've seen in Chinese equities, you would think that the Aussie would be performing better here.
Yeah, but it doesn't, and I really don't know why. Chinese data are not great, but then you cannot pin everything onto China for the Aussie, because the dollar
Sure.
China is actually lower. It's not higher. It's not weaker. The dollar China is actually lower. So I don't know why Aussie isn't performing right now. I'm just happy that I took my profit and ran. No, I think we're strong data. Watch for euro yen maybe to fly up, or euro Swiss, but weak data. Those two should probably be the weaker ones too, together with euro being strong, because the market is really buying euros right now, probably forced. But I think also I think the model funds are in it too, and they won't stop unless we get, for instance, a euro dollar close under 107 or so.
You know, one of the things that this is the Forex Analytics chat room, guys. If you guys don't know, these are all the conversations we're having since just, you know, last hour. I want to say that, and I'm going to reiterate what I said here. Oh, shoot, I don't know where it's at. We've been chatting so much this morning, but I'll just say it here. The dollar yen is trading on channel support. And I mean, good data should lift the dollar yen. You'll see yields go up. That's where you get your dip in TLT. Dale. But I'm really hesitant about being long dollar yen for any length or period of time. I mean, yeah, we just keep brushing around channel support here. Is there any reprieve for the yen, Kman? And I'm going to get ready for the data as
we're going to get Ryan's strong number. That would be a reprieve.
Yeah, there will be a reprieve if we get a really, really strong number and surprisingly strong components, private and government. But it would be a reprieve, and I still think if it if it's that kind of reprieve, there's going to be better euro yen perhaps than dollar yen. But yeah, I
talk to me, Goose, about you know, what you're going to be looking at between private data and government jobs today.
Well, I mean, the government jobs, if we have to believe the numbers yesterday, well, which are real numbers about the challenger cuts, the government job cuts are finally showing up in data now. So we could expect that to happen. But then the retailers have also been cutting jobs. The techs have said that they might be starting to cut more jobs. So it's likely not going to show in the private numbers right now. But if we would get something lower, those private numbers, then that would mean that really something is going to happen.
All right, let's not forget our friends from up north in Canada. They are reporting their data today. They're looking actually for some pretty decent data. So heads up, here we go. We got just a few seconds, about 15 seconds away.
Don't be
The
too bearish S&Ps
I'm
here,
sorry.
guys. I wouldn't be too bearish S&Ps down here. There's multiple divergences on the 4-hour chart.
Yeah, it's
Be
hard.
careful.
It's hard to shorten the hole like we're seeing right now, for
we
sure.
could get wow, there we go.
Well, here we
That's
go.
what I said. It's hard to be short.
151.
4.1%
Private
Decent data.
okay.
140 private.
hourly, month on month.
Yeah,
There you
lower
go.
government, but it's still a positive.
Government, nothing to do with it. No government jobs, nothing. 11K. Good numbers.
All right. All right. Hey, watch
There
this
you go.
new high in the euro to be sold.
I think we're going to have this 2-week rally now into March option expiration. I think they have a lot of people short here, so there could be like a week and a half or so short covering rally, not a bull market, and then go down to the lower levels that Gregor showed earlier, but rally first. That's what I'm thinking.
Man, I mean, you look at the unemployment rate in Canada was actually pretty damn good. I know they didn't create as many jobs as the market was looking for, but that's given the Canadian dollar a little bit of firmness. I did just short some euro dollar at 76, so we're at 62 now. So I'm up about 20 pips.
Take it.
Nah, I'll
kidding.
take it about maybe another 20 pips lower. I am scalping a lot, Dale. Don't
I
don't
know
get me
you
wrong,
are, man.
Yeah, if
you
guys
got
are in the
100 lot on. If you have 100 lot on, you take those 15 pips, right?
I got some size, but
All right.
and if you're in the trades room, you can see I just
know.
posted in the trades room. Yeah, I'm gonna take my 22 pips right now, and then there we go, and then I'm gonna call it a Friday. So
I got a haircut.
hey, you did, and I hear
Not
you got a guest.
Not in the
so-
market. Yeah, I'm so glad to have Tommy with us here today, Blake. You said you followed him for a while, so
Yes.
he's Tommy. Welcome to F.A.C.E. I think I have to unmute you, or you unmute yourself. Ask to unmute.
Hey guys, how are you?
Okay, good, Tommy. So this is Tommy's first time here in F.A.C.E. Tommy's company is Hedge Fund Telemetry, and he's a long short fund manager. So Tommy, the world has changed.
Yes, I am.
The world has changed since we last talked. We had the red wave. We
Yeah,
had
I'm
all
just
that.
checking a couple things as we get look here, as you guys are
Okay.
probably too, because that's
Yeah.
what we do. So it looks like the Trump job cuts will probably kick in next month, and that was the big question that people had. Jobs data is compiled both surveys, the unemployment rate and the non-farm payroll, on the 12th of each month. So it was probably a little too early to tell with the government cuts. So we'll probably see, a weakening number. But the implied number, the implied move for today, vols were so high, and I think we were looking for like a 1.7% move on the S&P. That's really, really high for a jobs number. We'll see where things go. We're not at the. I'm just watching cues here. We're not at the highs. And one thing I do, which it was drilled into me from my old fund manager, the PM that I worked for. I was his trader. I look at the VWAP levels from important data releases. So, for example, I'm looking at the VWAP, and I'm just calculating it on Bloomberg here. So Q's VWAP is 491.48.
You want to show it?
Go on.
Do you want to show? Oh, I wanted to ask you if you wanted to share your charts, or you want me to go around to the asset classes that you talked about.
You know what? I've got a lot of stuff on my screen right now.
Okay. All right.
And I'd rather not do it, but I'd rather just chat.
Okay.
And I will be, and what I used to do is I used to just constantly on Bloomberg, update the VWAP level. So 491.45, and it's currently at 490.58 right now. So you're trading below the VWAP. So you had like an initial spike higher. If you get above that VWAP level, I think you have some upside potential. That is kind of what I'm watching, and I'll
And
refresh that
and
to
those are
death.
the cues? The cues you're talking
That's on the
about?
cues, and I can do it on the spies as well. Hold on. Stand by.
What made you such a believer in VWAPs, Tommy?
It's just drilled into me from my old portfolio manager, and I tend to look at it, and I'm looking at the overall markets right now, the equity markets, in the sense that VWAP levels are sort, volume weighted average price,
Yeah.
and it's like looking at where people are positioned. And the amount of inflows that occurred after the election, and then even more so with retail piling in after the inauguration, was extreme. And if you have a lot of people that are above those, the current price, those people tend to start to feel trapped. And if you break down at those levels, if you break down to lower levels, those people become more motivated sellers. And so I'm watching that right now, and I think that's generally how I'm looking at it. So Qs right now, or sorry, spies, the VWAP from the second of the release is 570, 575.60, and the current price is 574.37. So you're not really seeing the push through on the upside that bulls would really want to see. So
Yet.
that is how I'm
Yet.
watching things right now.
It's early.
It's early,
Early
yeah.
in the day. Yeah. So you have a long short fund. What were your shorts in the last month or so? You could probably just throw a dart. There were a lot,
I always like to
Nvidia.
talk about my losers that didn't work.
Okay,
I
let's
actually, I will say, just looking at my my current portfolio exposure, I have probably the highest level of cash I've had for quite a while. And I for hedge fund telemetry, we put out several notes a day, and I have a model portfolio with trade ideas, and it's had a very high level of cash, and the reason for that high level of cash is because of the volatility of an escalator up, elevator down type equity market. And that's what we've been seeing, uh, well, probably since December, when things really started to get, more in tune with what Trump was coming out with. And all these, you can have an official from the administration come on TV, or Trump, and knock things down or spike things higher fairly quickly. And I just don't want to have people get whipped around. And it's too hard for me to be going, giving people ideas back and forth. If someone misses a note, they're going to miss perhaps a trade. So I'm trying to stay in tune with the larger exposures. I am short spies and Qs. Been short for a while. I added to some yesterday. Uh, think because I took some off recently, also low. So I have a full position, 5% each, spies and Qs. That's my maximum weighting exposure for each position. So I do think we're going to break lower today. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I think that the risk remains on the downside, especially just thinking about positioning. And you guys trade Forex, you guys know positioning so well of where people get trapped. And Dale, you and I talked last. One of the things that I was really concerned about is the yen strength versus the dollar. And I said my big level, I mean I had a 151 level. You were a little higher to be the concern
52.
level.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
52.
I said, 149 and change was another level that was a DeMark generated number. And the yen's blown through that. And I find that to be a concern because, again, just going back to positioning, if you remember the carry trade unwind, it wasn't
Yeah,
just,
in
oh,
August.
it's just, it's not, it wasn't just the currencies in your world that were being affected. It was all it exposed the concentration and positioning, overcrowding in a lot of US tech and mega cap because you saw these things get absolutely murdered. Perhaps that's just sort of another, precursor to what we have coming up here now. And I don't think one of
Do
my,
you think people are as leveraged up? I mean, they've had plenty of time to unwind the carry trade. In fact,
yeah,
from the
that's a
panic
good,
low, they had all this
yeah,
time.
that's a good point. I don't think people are I don't think I was talking to one of my friends who works for a large macro fund, and he's probably one of the best I know. And he said he's been long yen, but he doesn't see it being like a real panic. I do think it could be, damaging and maybe more contained as far as the downside for the equity market. But then
Okay.
again, I don't know. And I think that the longer we in the equity market we stay below those big levels, and many of the indices and stocks and sectors are below the election levels, so that is a real clear indication that people are trapped higher. One thing I am not a Forex trader as you guys are, and I have super high respect for what you guys do, because you guys are, you're juggling, chainsaws live every day, it seems, and you
We
do it
wear
pretty well.
gloves. Gloves.
Well, no mistakes. But the point is that I think that you're going to see, like, I'm looking at the DeMark indicators for Euro USD, and I see it on day 11 of 13 on the upside. So I think you
Okay.
could have some pullback, or the DeMark 13s are not necessarily you're going to have a big giant reversal the day after you get that, but it could level off here with
Yeah.
the recent move. And I recently shorted. I know you asked me what I was long and short. I've been long. I've been long China internet, and
Nice.
Alibaba has been a big position, and KWeb. We had call
All right.
spreads on
All
KWeb.
right. So
It was
let's
great.
talk about that. I think a lot of it has to do with the dollar break. Okay. But, for 20 years, all the money's been coming here to the US. And we all know Germany had to step up and yields are going up there. And that's why the euro rallied. So I heard that this is a shift that hasn't happened in about 20 years. And it's just starting. That foreign markets, even emerging markets, you like Asia, are going to outperform US for quite some time as money flows out of here and into international markets. Are you a believer in that?
I I think that there's so much money out from foreign countries outside of the U.S. that are still in the U.S. I think if the U.S. catches a cold, Europe and Asia could get pneumonia. And a friend of mine mentioned that line to me yesterday, and I 100% agree. I think they'll possibly outperform. I think
Maybe.
I think the China Hong Kong trade is a little extended.
Yeah.
I've cut some exposure. I am short the FEZ Eurostox 50 ETF, and
Okay.
I will
That's
say that,
contrary. Contrary.
yeah, and there's
There's
daily
Bobby.
DeMark exhaustion signals on the Eurostox 50 and the 600
Yeah.
on daily and weekly, and the weekly signals, and I posted these on X, and the daily and weekly for Eurostox 50, and I think those will probably come in. They're harder to trade. There's less liquidity, obviously, in Europe, and I'm not necessarily a believer in that. I think that if the US catches a cold, you're probably going to have some bigger problems around the world as well. I have been long
Okay.
copper. I like copper. I like copper miners. That's been one that's been good. I started buying uranium stocks a little bit early, but they've been already down a lot. So I liked those. I'm short a little Costco. I'm short a little Broadcom as well, which isn't
Okay.
working today. I like to
Okay.
talk about my loser, the ones that don't work as well.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
short Apple.
as far as you're short Apple now,
I'm short Apple here. I think it's expensive. It's been sort of a hiding place, and great company, overvalued. Stock doesn't really want to go down much.
you know,
I've
yeah.
been short Affirm Holdings, the buy now pay later. I just took some gains on ARC. I was short ARC. I was short airlines. I took some gains there. And it's been actually a pretty good year because the portfolio's up over 3%. The S&P is down.
I like the Apple trade, Tommy. I'll
Yeah,
tell you
it's
why. I'll tell you why. Uh, you know, uh, you know, Google got killed, and Amazon got killed, and Meta got killed, and Nvidia got killed, and Microsoft, look at Netflix, everything. And I think the lesson coming in Apple, for people that are buying it as a safe haven, is that it's not a 90-day T-bill. Okay, it's
yeah.
very, very crowded. While there's been liquidation in some of these other ones, and I'm actually thinking I'm going to have a chance to get short back above 150, 250, 150, 250 on it in
Yeah,
the
it's
coming.
possible. I mean, the problem with Apple from a fundamental point of view is that they don't really have any growth.
Yeah,
And they just came out with a touted new cheaper phone, and they've always had a cheaper phone, but this phone's not necessarily that cheap. It's just $200 less
yeah,
than the normal iPhone 16. And they've had a hard time selling stuff in China. I
just
don't see
wait.
that changing.
Yeah, it could get worse, Tommy. 6 years ago, they saw there could be problems with production in China when the first round of tariffs. So they
Hmm.
diversified into India. And after 5 years, 6 years, they've only been able to move over about 18% of their production there. So they come up and they say, well, we'll 500 billion to build a plant here and reshore. It takes 5 years or a decade to even get things going, if they
Yeah.
get things going.
Yeah,
So,
well, that's a issue that a lot of these companies that are going to try and reshore that the the issue they're going to face is obviously the cost increase with labor. They're going to have to deal with unions. There's a lot of things that they're going to have to deal with,
uh,
but I
people
mean the
forget. Yeah, go ahead, Tommy.
they've done a pretty good. I think Tim Cook, I give him credit because in Trump 1.0, he was the first and really the only tech CEO that went and met with Trump and created a detente or sort of partnership, and that was informative for Trump 2.0 for a lot of these CEOs to bend the knee and tell him what a great hair he has or whatever, what a great
Well, he,
president
he
he
should
is.
have been bending the knee in front of Xi, because
Yeah, well,
Xi
he has.
already, Xi already, several years ago, at least a couple, said that government employees can't use iPhones, and Xi isn't going to, be intimidated by President Trump. All he has to say is no more iPhones for anybody.
That they've been really more there's a lot of China competition for phones, and they're not they're worthy competitors, and there's a real nationalistic tone in China to buy
Yeah, that's
Chinese
what I mean.
goods.
Right.
So
Everywhere now.
let's just review back to the VWAP levels. I've recalculated the SPYs now at 575.06, and it's trading at 573.60. So you're
Yeah.
below that level there, and that always is a bit of a concern on Qs. 491.02. So and it is trading at, hold on, I have all my amphitheater of screens here. So it's gotta look up 489.61. So you're below that as well. If you get above that, you know, sometime after the open, and usually you'll get a big volume spike on the open as well. But I think that that is going to be important to cross. And what I'll do is for everyone, I'm on X, and I'll post a VWAP level chart with spies and Qs for today's action
All
and
right.
other
But
ETFs.
but
But I will
besides
say I'm blocked. I've locked my account, and it's because I can't take all the impersonators, the spam. You know, Dale, we're just fools. We should just be giving our money to these people that turned, you know, $500 into $70,000 in 3 hours. I mean, that's what they're offering people out there, and we should just, why are we doing what we're doing? We should just give away our money to these people in India or China
well,
or wherever they are, and have them
I think we
pass
ought
them
to
to
give our
bazillionaires.
let senators and congressmen manage our money, because
It- it-
they don't have to chart. They get pretty good information. They don't care
yeah,
about VWAPs, Tommy.
I know.
They
I
don't
know.
need
It is.
VWAPs.
Listen, I've been saying it that I've been saying it's a bear market for competent political leadership in the U.S. and I'm an independent, former Republican. I would vote for either, you know, someone competent in either party. I would probably say I'm more pleased that Trump won from an economic point of view, and more pleased that he has Scott Bessent as his
Yeah.
Treasury Secretary, because I know Scott a bit, and you know, I still think there's going to be tons of Trump chaos, which I like Trump chaos because it creates opportunities. Up and to the right is not bueno for my trading style.
Yeah.
I'm not good at, you know, buying perceived breakouts, because usually I buy the breakouts and I fail on those.
They fail.
But the point is,
Down is faster. I love bear markets.
yeah, I can,
I learned in a bear market.
I tend to find more long ideas in bear markets. I trade them with smaller size than I do with shorts. And
Okay.
that's the funny part is, we were at my old fund, my larger fund, we were short tons of financials starting in '07 and going through '08, no, in the beginning of '09. It was incredibly stressful, even when you're right,
Yeah.
to be in those trades, because you had some extreme bounces. You had Bank of America, which we were short a lot, moved up
Look at that 1 week move in
90%.
B of A, Tommy. You
Yeah.
know what? If this wasn't happening in the banks, XLF, same story. I would say, okay, normal market correction. But if we're going to have trouble with banks, or banks are looking like this, I guess credit, they're starting to worry about some credit issues. And, you know, as far as the S&Ps are concerned, the whole market, I know you do a lot of sentiment work.
Yeah.
Is there enough bearishness?
No.
Not yet. Okay.
No.
That tells me
You're starting
something.
to see, like, a lot of people will look at the AAII poll. I don't. I actually don't like that poll, because it gives people sort of an excuse. Are you bullish, bearish, or neutral? And
Yeah.
a lot of people will use the neutral button in there. And for me, I like to say, are you bullish or bearish? And I use the daily
Period.
sentiment index. And the
DSI. Yeah.
had it right up here.
Bernstein.
Let me see if did I delete it? No, it's still here. Um, yeah,
Where's the DSI?
it's at 40.
Yeah, that's
It's at
not.
40.
Yeah.
And the January lows got to 35.
I've seen
Um,
single digits in that DSI before.
I have too. And I've
Yeah.
tracked this for many, many years, and I put it on. You get my notes, you can see it every day. All the data's updated. It's only sentiment poll that's updated every day. So I think that oh, look at that. There I am.
Here's your website.
Oh, cool.
So this is where you find Tommy, besides X. and which he's not accessible.
And
Hedgefundtelemetry.com.
yeah, there we are.
Yeah.
And it's, I will say this, we put out a lot of stuff. Oh, don't go through I've got a couple bugs in my site right now. Oh
All
my
right.
God. Look at that guy.
Well, then this one,
What
boy,
happened to him?
I don't
What happened to
know.
him?
You look like a very mature high school senior there.
Yeah, I've never grown out of that.
Anyway, good looking guy. So tell me, I know where the trade, what's your overall vibe? That the dollar's getting crushed. I think that theme continues regardless. There'll be bounces, but this was a real bad week. And
Yeah,
normally it would be positive for risk, and that's changed. So it's what I was talking about earlier, maybe outflows. So a weak dollar is not supportive of equities anymore.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
go ahead.
I mean, just looking at the dollar I mean, the dollar decline is fairly steep right here. I don't have any. I had a 106 support level on dollar index, and that
Yeah.
broke.
Yeah.
That I think we could go a little bit more. I don't really have strong. I mean, we had sell signals, DeMark sell signals recently in the dollar, and I figured, we could see a pullback. I mean, Scott Bessent was a big fan of Shinzo Abe and spent a lot of time in Japan and made a fortune short yen. And I'm not sure if Scott's thinking we're gonna let the dollar fade. He said the typical US Treasury Secretary comment, we believe in a strong dollar,
Yeah.
winking,
Well, that's not what his boss wants.
No, and he'll say that, and I think that be careful for what you wish for. But
Yeah.
dollar sentiment index right now is not oversold. It had been overbought. It was it got up to 90% bulls. Now it's at 50% bulls. I tend to look at sentiment sort of like RSI in the sense that when you break 50%, you have the majority are now bearish. And
Okay.
if we break
Interesting.
through those levels, and we broke them in July under 50, and we know what happened then with yen. And if that is, occurring again, I think that's the risk here that we could see overall on the markets. And maybe Trump and Bessent, they are okay with a market correction. They're still in that honeymoon period that they can blame the previous administration, in which Trump is very
They're very
comfortable
good. Yeah.
blaming the previous administration.
Yeah.
And that's how I see it. But Reagan was pretty good in his first term. He allowed the markets to come down. We had a short recession, and he killed inflation, and then we're off and running. And I'm not sure if they're trying to replicate that by design, but that could happen.
No. They're demanding lower rates. What killed inflation was the move by Volcker to take short-term rates to 20.
All right, but what happened is that they allowed the recession to occur,
Right.
and the equity market had bounced with when Reagan was coming in, and then it fell pretty hard. They allowed a recession, and rates started to come down. I mean that nothing is better for rates to go lower than a recession,
And that's what
unfortunately.
they said. They're focusing on the 10-year yield, so they need a recession for
I
yields
mean
to come down.
that's been the joke. If you want rates to go lower, kill stocks.
Well, he said he's not watching the stock market yesterday. He's not
Oh yeah, I
watching
know
it
that. He's not watching. Okay, listen, Dale, I gotta run.
All right. Well, you know what? I like watching you on my programs.
Well,
So
thank you so much for having me.
anyway,
I
go
really
ahead,
appreciate
buddy.
it.
This is where you find Tommy. And you know, he's got a lot of great information. You have letters and everything, or is it
Yeah,
just
got lots of stuff.
yeah?
Thank you.
All right, what's minimum to get
Mike
into your fund?
Delfino, Tom is great. Oh, that is very nice. Checks in the mail to you, Mike. So if anybody wants a trial, just shoot me an email, info@hedgefundtelemetry, and I'll get you hooked up. And if you want
Okay.
to join, it's less than $100 a month.
Okay, Tommy Thornton, everybody.
All right,
Find him.
take care, guys.
Find him at Thomas Thornton on X. Thank you, buddy. Okay, everyone, that's a wrap. Huh? We made it. We made it, right? You like Tom? All right. He's busy. All right, everyone. Ingmar, Laura, all you guys. Hope you had a great week. If you haven't joined our community, just do it. You can always leave if it's not working for you. Anyway, one good trade a month out of the community is going to pay for a year. So anyway, have a great weekend, everyone. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. See you next week. Do your work over the weekend so you're not impulse trading, but you're trading your plan. I'll see you guys. Thank you.